Let's talk about multiple offers in a seller's market. Frankly, I still think we're in a seller's market, maybe not as much so as we were midsummer, but I am seeing multiple offers on listings.
I'm experiencing multiple offers when bringing buyers, and you're like, okay, that one's gone.
Right.
If a home is priced well in a good location and it's move-in ready, or the updates that they've done have warranted what a buyer is willing to pay,
sure,
I think more than one person might see the value in that, and hence you have more than one offer. Mm-hmm. And in a seller's market, even in 2020, and I think 2020 is still going to be a strong seller's market in the metro Charlotte, North Carolina area.
Agreed. We have a very strong job market.
Yes.
We have a lot of corporations that are relocating their headquarters here in Charlotte. So I think that bodes well with our local economy. And
Absolutely.
people are secure in their job, generally, right?
Yep.
So let's talk a little, Mike. I want to just pose a few questions. I wanted to maybe pose these questions to you as if I were in a position of wanting to make an offer on a house and to position myself in the best way I possibly can so I get that home as a home buyer. Okay. All right. So let's talk about I've found the home that I want to make an offer on. I'm excited about it. We see that it's probably going to get some strong interest from other parties. What are some factors that you would recommend you do to be able to look good in the eyes of the seller in hopes that they accept the offer?
So I'm a buyer's representative. Buyer says, hey, let's write an offer. I love this property. What's the next step? First step is understanding what has sold in that general area. We talked about an earlier segment of pricing properties appropriately. I think it's a given if you're in a multiple offer situation, inherently there are another buyer that believes the list price is attractive enough to at least get probably that as a baseline, particularly in a competitive market. But pulling the comps and kind of seeing where the market trend is. Mm-hmm. But to make your offer outshine the rest of the competition is the way that you structure it. So in North Carolina, we have due diligence, we have earnest money. I think enhancing those deposits with the understanding that you get 100% of that back when you close.
Of the earnest money.
Of the earnest money and the due diligence.
Yeah, and you get that, absolutely. And go ahead. I know you're getting to the point that the only thing that is being risked is
due diligence.
The due diligence and the cost that you might incur through that due diligence.
Correct. And if you were to back away from any property, you do not get that money back.
That's right. It's the price you pay to effectively take it off the market. And if you choose to do any investigation, that's your opportunity. However, our contract in North Carolina is an as-is contract.
Correct.
Most buyers don't realize that. Now, albeit you have an option to review and inspect the property and identify if there are any surprises, if you will.
Correct. Absolutely. So, but the first thing is, if you're a buyer and you're wanting to win, is if you come in with a shabby deposit, it looks like that's direct correlation to good faith. And it's all about evaluating good faith that someone's going to exhibit. If you're a seller and you're going to accept the offer, which one's going to move forward in good faith to hit the closing table?
Yeah.
So if a weak deposit schedule doesn't show good faith. So we want to do the opposite of that within reason. Within reason, what's reasonable.
Sure.
The other thing that might help is look at the time frames and finding out what's important from the seller. If someone's lived in the house,
absolutely,
absolutely,
that's where we feel like we really represent our buyer well.
Absolutely,
is we get as much information on the front end from the listing agent to see, okay, what's the seller really looking for? Where are they headed? And there are certain questions that we will ask, and sometimes we'll get answers that will help us sort of paint the picture as to what the seller is looking for, in hopes to maybe put some emphasis on trying to make those happen. But maybe there's a little give and take. Maybe if someone is trying to get out of, sell the house and close by a certain date, they might be willing to take a little less as a give and take. Or maybe not, but in some cases they might be willing to, because time is money.
Yeah, no, you're 100% correct. And I think it goes without saying that you shouldn't be looking at houses unless you're pre-approved.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you're not paying cash, furthermore, if you're paying cash, you need to go ahead and get a proof of funds.
Yeah,
because you don't want the other side to ask for that. You want to show that you're proactive, that you're a ready, willing, and able and qualified buyer. So either you have your proof of funds or you have your pre-approval from I would say, a local reputable lender.
Yeah. And if someone has not gone, even on that, having a local reputable lender, just that, if you're competing in multiple offers and all offers are the same, you have one that says pre-qualification, one that says pre-approved, we've pulled tri-merge credit report, verified assets, and this person has been scrubbed clean. We feel confident that barring normal, title search, appraisal, due diligence that the lender would do on the property, this borrower is good to go.
Right.
Which one's going to stand out? Just by the sheer language on the pre-approval letter. And then going a step further, if it's an online bank versus a local versus a credit union versus having a couple of pre-approvals, in your possession is always a good thing, even if you're shopping for different lenders. But having the one that says pre-approval, one that is a local reputable lender, and one that has as much information that they've already done preliminarily on you as a borrower to show the seller that you are good to go.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a given.
Yeah. There obviously we know there's no requirement that the seller would have regarding who you're choosing to do your loan.
Correct.
However, I'm here to tell you that I have seen sellers look at who the loan officer is or the company and ask questions. Okay, is this somebody that has done a good job?
Right.
Are you aware of whom this is? Is this somebody that you feel confident moving forward with, that they're going to do their job? And in some cases I'll speak to that. I'll say, you know what, I do know this representative. This is somebody I've worked with over the course of my 23 years, and I think they'll do a good job. And on the other hand, I'm asked that question on occasion where it's blankblank.com, and I don't have any experience working with that company, and I can't speak to that. So I do think sellers are paying attention to more than what they used to, even just 5 or 6 years ago, with regard to lending, that is.
One thing that helps with that regard is having a stable, strong approval letter, a strong offer, and a multiple offer. I've seen a resurgence of this concept. It's been around for a long time, of the love letter. And recently we had a client that came back in the market, and for one circumstance or the other, they got the love letter. We were not in multiple offers. But let
me just hit the pause button real quick. Yeah. So the love letter is if you're the buyer and you're going in with competition to make an offer on a home, oftentimes the buyers will produce a letter explaining why they want to buy this home in hopes to appeal to the seller. So the seller might look at their offer favorably. All right, continue.
Absolutely. And the love letter is exactly that. And it's basically what happened to the seller psychologically without multiple offers is it helped lessen a lower than desirable offer on the front end. Because they recognized the house had been sitting a period of time, came back on the market, and ultimately, received that offer. And we worked it out with them because they felt like, in good faith, they took the time to write a letter. These people love the house. Now, what it does in multiple offers is a huge differentiator. It's a huge differentiator to say you've got X number of offers, and the one that's got the highest deposit, the one that's showing the most good faith, the one that's flexible on closing time frame if that's a needed necessity for the seller, and they're showing their best foot forward, and then they include a love letter. It's kind of like that might be the silver bullet that puts someone to say, wow, this is a family of, X, and they could tell they really want the home.
Let's face it, sellers are human beings, so there is an emotional piece to this, especially if someone has spent a long time in their home and maybe their kids grew up there, and they see this, these folks coming in that they might feel like, you know what, they're just, they want to make this their home and love it as much as we have. Sometimes there's an element of where you can position yourself as a buyer. And then I would also suggest that really, is assuming that you can justify price. We can't get around the fact that price matters too, right?
Price matters. That's the elephant in the room. And price minus concessions is the net offer. So if your price is higher and you're adding concessions, you got to factor in what is the net offer. And that includes personal property.
So Mike, let's just assume that I'm the buyer and you're my agent, and we're looking at a property who maybe in this particular community, average sales price is generally in alignment with what the home is listed for, okay? And it can be justified. We've looked at the data. We see the values there. And let's see, like, average days on the market, 6 days, okay? And then if I say, hey, Mike, I want to come in there, I want to offer less, and I want a warranty, and I want to ask for the refrigerator, washer, and dryer. How do you feel about that?
Well,
what do you feel? Are my chances good?
Yeah,
I know every situation is different, but remember, I feel like the price is generally there.
Yep.
The average days on the market is 6 days or less. Would you advise that I go in at a lower than list price?
When you say lower, what percentage of list would you say?
I don't know. Let's just assume this is a $500,000 house and I want to offer 5% less. And let's say it's over here and let's just say Cotswold. Okay. All right.
And where it is less than a week or
right. And then I want the warranty, I want the personal property, and then I want to close in, let's just say, 90 days. What's your immediate?
My immediate is that's actually the face I'm going to use.
Right. But here's the thing. If it's my goal as the buyer to secure this home, that's our job as agents to say, okay,
guide them through.
Listen, if you want to do that, I'll honor that, and we'll proceed forward, and I'll do my best, okay? But if you really want to know how I feel about this, I don't feel like that type of offer is going to position you well to actually secure the house, right?
Right. That's 100% correct. That's you nailed it. And that 90-day close, is that important to the seller? We determine that ahead of time, assuming we have, and they say we're ready to close in 30 days. And you know that, and you still put in a 90-day offer. Right. Yeah. It bodes.
We know what the seller's preference is, and once again, time is money.
Right.
They may have another property they want to go buy, or they may have already purchased a property.
Correct. And there's holding costs to tie up the property with one party that doesn't necessarily perform along the way. A long closing date is a red flag for everyone to say, well, they must have a house to sell, even if they said they don't. A longer closing date would imply that they've got a lease or they're really not quite ready. Because generally 30 to 45 days is what we see.
Yeah.
Cash offers could be 2 to 3 weeks.
Sure.
So if it's a 30-day, 40-day closing, that would make more sense. But a 60 to 90-day closing, red flag.
Yeah.
It's got to be something else.
And really, the bottom line here is, Mike, and I know you agree with this, is we as buyers really need to put themselves in the position of the seller.
Yeah. In multiple offers.
Right.
Yes.
So really to be objective, put yourself in the shoes of the seller, and how would you receive this offer, right? Yeah.
Agreed. That's a great point. And then the last piece, the 5% below list price, to your point, is that going to position you into a place to win?
Can we justify it? And if the answer is no based on the data, then you're not in a good position.
No.
But if, on the other hand, there are communities and there are homes where that might be justified. In this scenario that I'm putting together just for fun, it's not a good strategy.
It's not a good strategy. And then one other, I'll kick this back to you, and as we're ping-ponging, let's say you have a seller that has listed it not at $499.9, not at $500, but against the advice of the listing agent. They pushed it, and the listing agent agreed. Wouldn't be us. In general, we will follow the advice of our clients, of course, and do what's in their best interest. But we'd be remiss in saying that pushing it to $525 or $515, just over that break point, let's assume the comps are $485 to $495, and you list it at $499.9.
Yeah.
That's where it should be. And someone says at $415, as a buyer's agent, you run the data, and you see that it really should be more in line with that. And it's been sitting for 2 weeks.
Okay. Yeah.
How would you advise the client to then write the offer to structure that?
So if it's been 2 weeks is still not a long time, but no. I get it. Let's just say it came to the market and no one immediately jumped in and was willing to offer, assumably list price, right?
Correct.
Then I would say I do believe that at that point in the neighborhood that we're using as the example, that someone might be able to come in there at a lower offer. But I wouldn't say 5% is justified based on 2 weeks.
Right.
It might mean, and every case is different, but I would tell you it might mean, coming in at maybe 10,000 below list ish, roughly.
Yeah. And of course, the psychology of the seller is day 0 to probably day 14, day 20. The hope is still there.
Right.
If they have overpriced it, that's about the time where you say, gosh, the market's really driving this conversation.
Sure.
Now, this is the opposite of multiple offers where we got to where he said, we're pricing it well, house prep is in order, everything else is, stacked.
Yep.
But it is an important element that we're seeing sometimes in scenarios like that, houses are sitting just a little bit longer.
Yep.
Because of those reasons.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Well, good. We'll end it there on the topic of multiple offers. That was good.
Absolutely.